Minasan, McMegane here, and today we'll be covering the tier list for a brand new Clan Collection 5 and 6. In my opinion, Clan 5 and 6 in general just did a decent job at follow up the older archetype while giving out a decent support for the newer ones. Though there are some cards that in my opinion are pretty shit still regardless. There are still winner and there are still loser. So just like the previous tier list that I did on the Clan Collection, I'll be covering it by archetype base. So if there's any generic support here and there, I might combine it into the clan or I might separate it if it does make a lot of impact. And also, V Premium opinion only. As I'm not familiar with Premium, I might talk about some implication in Premium if I kind of aware of it, but otherwise you won't hear anything Premium from me at all. So just V Premium only. And if you're already this far in this video, consider like, share and subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of this year, so any help are greatly appreciated. And don't forget to ring that bell as well to keep up with all the notification. And if you are already subscribed, thank you so much, and go and ask your friend to subscribe to me. And yeah, without further ado, wait, before we actually go, I've almost forgot. I have to put two particular cards into a special place in hell, up in the heaven, because of how broken the card is for the current format of V. And I'm gonna make a new tier right now, so just give me a moment.
One eternity later.
Okay, we have made a new tier, which is called For Fuck's Sake Bushiroad.
You're failing in the highest level.
No.
So this particular tier is made to put a card that directly or indirectly support the tier 1 deck that doesn't need support in the current format. And this two particular card is very obvious. I think if you follow up the Clan Collection news, you know what two cards I'm talking about. The first one, Holy Shine Dragon. To put it simply, yes, it is Liberator support, but Liberator support is extremely generic in V, that it can be run in almost any deck, including Gurgil.
Of course!
And the fact that you have additional Excel marker for Gold Paladin is a big thing because the deck is always focusing on spam the field and hit with multiple attacks. And this card just makes things happen a lot easier. And not only that, 3 markers 1 turn if you can write into Percival. So yeah, this card definitely gonna need to be in the hit list, and in my opinion might be the reason why Percival will soon get banned because of this particular card.
No, he's got a point.
And one more card I want to talk about is of course Eudona, essentially a grade 1 support for Shadow Paladin, but it does support Luat and to an extent as well, as it does give Luat additional draws and ability to remove Regard on the field by the end of turn. And with that in mind, it allows the Lua to avoid some of the control. So yeah, these two deserve to be in the special place in the meta hell. Okay, let's move on to the card that I do like, which is Ripples. I'll start off in a good unit here. Ripple is a very solid deck as of now. It has ability to search quite a bit, though it can still be quite awkward to search because it's the only Vanguard you focus on. But the payoff is relatively okay because it does help to withstand the whole field, which is quite a huge thing in our core force. And also it does give additional power as long as you have Bravos in Soul, which allow you to go a little bit over some of the defensive. So not the worst thing in the world, but I think what's kind of bring this card down a peg is two things. It's slow in marker generation, which it does need, and limit break effect. I mean, limit break effect is not the worst thing in the world, but if you're up against a good player, they know how to damage deny you and kill the hell out of you after that. So I cannot say Ripple is a great unit yet. If it does get a bit more support, that does get Genovese a bit more consistently, then maybe I will consider it as a good unit. Let's move on to Curio, and this will be a first in Seems Good tier, in a sense that it does have a solid effect. Ability to generate markers is always great. The big problem with Curio is that you need to have a perfect setup board to do the aggression. Without cards like Noxiel Engine or Scalpel Angel, the deck can get a little bit harder to play because of the fact that it needs your damage zone to be really good to actually pull off the whole combo. So yeah, overall a very decent card, but just need 1 or 2 more cards to kind of tidy up the whole playstyle. And in my opinion, same goes for, say, actually not similar, but Duo in my opinion, I'll put it in the same good tier. Some people may ask, why? because the Brode and Ural supports Prism indirectly. But here's the thing, this card together with Riot, I feel like it missing something to kind of gel everything together, and that's exactly why I want to put it here in like seems good tier, because when you see the whole archetype as what it is now, it can be a little bit short of good in my opinion. Because right now I feel like the playstyle is kind of being delegated to Prism sub engine like that. And that's not something you want to see with a brand new archetype. Okay, let's move on to the Ammon. And Ammon, in my opinion, need more support, in the sense that because of how polarizing the new support and the old support is, it just needs a card that kind of gel together. Even if like the new support kind of works with the older support, Atrocious Blow is a great card. Soul Sucker and Armor Reverse are pretty meh, and that's the big problem. And they don't really have like a common theme ability, so in my opinion, having a card that gel everything together will help the deck a lot, and that's why I put him down from the great unit to just same goods like tier. Okay, Miscos, this gonna go here. I think Miscos is a solid 3-card engine right now. Together with the Miscos, together with Black, it does build up into a very solid deck. But if you want to make a Metal Ball a proper archetype, it does need more cards, like 3 more to be precise, just to make a deck actually playable as a Metal Ball deck. But overall, I think right now it's in a good place. That's why it doesn't need as much support as like Ammon or Riot. What is considered to be great though is Enigma Storm. Okay, yes, it's only 1 card deck, but its synergy with Black is insane, to an extent that I feel that it is deserved to be in the good unit tier because of how easy and free it is. The only cost that it does have in this deck is just discard 2 for the restand, which is not the expensive cost to begin with, especially if you run a lot of draws in Dimension Police. So it's a good unit, and I hope they continue supporting Enigmas. Like, that's a problem with the DP. I feel it's like it's either they're giving more support to Enigmas or it give more support to Metal Box. It's just one of them. So I'm on both team. I'm happy if they're gonna support any of them, but these two really need support, like legitimately. Okay, let's move on to the first great unit in this tier, Dayusha Reverse. The Dayusha Reverse give essentially a good start turn for Dairobo, in a sense that the D-Robo always has a weak turn 3 because they don't really got into rewrite until turn 4. This card just fixed that issue completely, and with the right combo, so Kaiser, and then Reverse Dayusha, you essentially can get 4 markers on Vanguard, 2 of which can be placed anywhere. That's really big thing. I mean, it generates more markers than Luwat in a cost of draw, of course, but overall Dayusha is a unit that need to be wrecked. I feel D-Robo now is like a deck that need to be look out upon, cause if you're not being prepared for it, you're pretty much gonna kill yourself. Okay, Otoki Voyage, and I'm gonna put him in here together with the rest of the card. They are generally pretty great, but I think that the playstyle that 7C already has to begin with is kind of wonky to begin with, cause it does leave it to opponent whether you want to trigger it or not. But the new card does help to force the opponent to let it hit with the Otoki Voyage, which is essentially a Skull Dragon.
Spicy.
So overall, I think it's just that the 7C has a clunky mechanic to begin with, but it does get a great support that does help to trigger that clunky mechanic more consistently. What is not clunky though is definitely Steam Maiden. This straight up goes to great unit here. Here's the thing, Ururu is a great unit as it helps to recurse your deck a bit, and then it does give you a 25k shield, which does do a lot of job if you up against many decks. And essentially, Steam Maiden kind of delegated to early rush deck together with Piano Man.
Synergy.
If you cannot survive the first 2 rush of the Steam Maiden with Piano Man rush, you essentially will lose the game. That's how strong the Steam Maiden early rush engine is. And all they need is essentially just 1 counterblast.
NANI?
Yeah, that's how easy it is to rush them. That's how easy it is for them to get rushed. And the new card, the new Steam Maiden and then the cat, essentially lead to that endgame board very easily, as the cat help to get the Steam Maiden, and then the Steam Maiden also have to get the cat and also help to fetch the Piano Man if you don't get it in the game early. So overall, very powerful cards, and I think Steam Maiden is kind of being looked down upon a lot. It's kind of like a sleeper deck, I feel, and I hope there's more representation of this deck in the V format later on. Okay, next up, Regalias. And Regalias, I'm gonna put it in the between Ururu and Tirafa Reverse. Essentially, what does the new support give to the Regalia is essentially consistency. So now Genesis Regalia can essentially have build a board very easily, set up the gauge very easily, and go for 5 attacks relatively easily. I said 5 because, you know, you normally put the Yggdrasil in the back row just so that opponent cannot touch it. But yeah, in general, I do feel that Regalia is a really solid archetype. It has ability to resist 80% of the removal effects, and it does have a very solid pressure, and it does work well with both markers, which is something that is quite rare for some of the force deck. So overall, pretty solid support, and I don't know why my how good is Regalia deck didn't get a lot of views. You guys should go watch more of that, to be honest. And then next is Tester Fox, and
What does the fox say?
I'm gonna put this in the great unit here. I'll put him, you know what? I'll put him above Frick. Here's the thing. Tester Fox is such a powerful unit that can be run in any Great Nature build. Maybe not the Hamsuke, but overall, all the build does need Tester Fox to really help the deck. In a sense that the card just helps to recurse, it helps to call really powerful rare cards, and it helps you to draw and add the card that you needed from Vanguard if you need to rewrite. And overall, that's all things that really made this card so good. The only problem I can say with this card is it can be counterblast heavy, which can be easily mitigated if you're playing lottery like Lemio, or there are definitely more counter charger in different archetype of Great Nature as well. So you definitely can run this card without thinking too much of a combo out of it, to be honest. Okay, then next up is Leopold, and this is one of those examples where Tester Fox just make it so much better for the deck, and with all that considered, I will rank it in roughly the same place as Enigma Storm. I'll rank it higher though. Here's the thing, yes, he does need Leopold to get a full effect, but the thing is that that's all he needs, and the only cards that I feel that Leopold really needs right now is a card that helps to search for Leopold himself, and that's pretty much about it. Other than that, I think he is a very great unit, able to accelerate marker very quickly, able to pressure the opponent really high with all of his ability triggered, and pretty hand saving because he can just superior call 2 rare cards for free cards. Also, he can make the lottery card allow you to choose the lottery effect, which in my opinion can be better in certain cases. For example, Lemio, because you don't need to you don't lose a card from the top of your deck in the form of Soul Charge. You can just counter charge just like that. So I still consider Leopold a good unit. Just need one card just help to search more Leopold consistently, and that's pretty much about it. Okay, let's move on to Chrome Jailer, and you know what? I think I'm just gonna put him in it is gonna be a first bad card in the clan collection, in the sense that Personal Blast is just not that good in V formats, and we have seen with a lot of decks that does do something similar to it, and it doesn't really boost the deck's consistency or anything. All it does is just superior call as much as possible. Yes, it does help to go into a Spectral Dupe, as the Dupe needs the rare cards, and it does have a good pressure in the form of extra drive, crit, and power. But the fact that you need to rely on other rare cards to actually swarm the field can be a little bit off-putting, especially that you only need to use this card once or twice only. That makes things a lot worse. And with all that considered, Chrome Jailer literally just need to be jailed in the bottom tier.
Gay!
And next up we have Spectral Dupe, and Dupe, I'm gonna put him at the top of good unit tier. I don't want to put him any higher because of the fact that he does rely on ultimate break, which is really risky in V formats, but I think the payoff can be really huge, and he is pretty damn generic, as his only unique effect that requires Spectral Dupe Dragon is a power gain effect, which is not really that necessary anyway. So yeah, this card can definitely fit in a lot of decks as long as you have additional counterblast. So pretty damn strong unit, very conditional, and that conditionality, that's why it is got picked down from the great unit here. Next up is Alaf, and I'm gonna put Alaf in the same similar situation as Riot. Essentially that there is a few cards already supported for Alaf, but a lot of them are generic cards. One of them are crit, one of them is like vanilla. So you do need a few more cards to really solidify embodiment as an archetype. I do like it a lot though, like the embodiment of something, and I'm glad that they decided to go with Alaf. I just hope they do a lot more job with it. Okay, next up we have Reverse, and Reverse gonna go straight up here. Here's the thing, I think Reverse is in my opinion very easy unit to use, as it does streamline your build. The only problem I see with Reverse is that if you up against deck like Glendios or deck that does take advantage from the lock card like Link Joker, it can be very devastating for Reverse. But I do think in general it's just a great card, because 6 drive check for 2 discard is still a great card compared to like the end, where without the X it kind of quite bad. Like discard 3, you lose a drive for every time you do restand, so there is plus and minus with this card. So in my opinion, if you are just starting off and you cannot get the X, Reverse is a good alternative to it. Okay, Kojo, it's just a DDD target. And I think the requirement for the effect can be a little bit awkward to use, so that's why DDD is needed, and that's why I don't like this card a lot. Okay, next up, the hard one, the hard to rank one, which is Glendios. Glendios as a control deck is actually very good because of the ability to shut down any front force or protect deck, as they can just lock the front row. But if you think about like ability to world and overall, you're not gonna do it that consistently, as you have seen in my stream, which you guys should check it out. But with all that considered, I'm gonna put him into the top of seems good tier. The reason is because he just needs a Starvader that helps to lock a Regalia during main phase. That's all he needs, like just a card that helps you to lock during main, a unit that already on the field during main phase, without relying on the other grade 3 Starvaders. That's all he needs, and I think it's not that hard to get the condition out. Maybe like just when place this force discard one reverse card to literally lock a Regalia on the field. That's all you need for the Glendios to literally jump into like maybe great unit, because the support that it does get in this clan collection is pretty great. Like World Line is +2, Rubidium is essentially turn a grade 3 into a shield, and Magnet Hollow is just straight up Searcher. So like all of them does have a good role. I just need one more card that kind of tied everything together nicely. Okay, next up we have Tirafa Reverse, and I considered it to be a great unit above Reverse. So here's the thing about Tirafa. Tirafa did a lot of good things with the original Tirafa Dart with less restriction, but it is a little bit more offensive. A lot of people both overestimate and underestimate it to an extent as well. But in my opinion, it's still a pretty damn good unit. It gives the offense that the Mega Colony deck does need, though it does have a problem that you need to get certain card that is not very useful to run this card to make it a little bit more consistent. But that's about it. The deck is just overall very powerful. The card overall is just very powerful, and combined with the new battler, I think it make up to be a pretty solid deck. Ryoki, in my opinion, is okay. This will make a lot of people trigger, especially Murakumo player, but I feel it's still made. Like, I'm not saying the card is bad, but the thing is that it have enough support, and despite all that, it is slightly underwhelming.
Emotional damage.
Like, yes, you get a lot of hand advantage with the deck. With Ryoki, you can get additional attacks. With the new card that you receive, you can fetch your Ryoki, you can fetch you can give more power to Regalia. But unlike Genovius, where Genovius just give enough to break over the defensive line, it doesn't in Stealth Fin. I still gonna give it props for its ability to do a Cherokee very consistently, and I think that's something that you would have put it in a good unit tier. After considering whether this unit is as good as any unit in the good tier or great tier, or like even in the seems good tier, it just no for me. And in fact, I would have put her into this tier, but that's a problem. She's already, the Steel Fin is kind of like a fully fleshed out archetype. It's still considered to be in this tier. That shows that it does something not right, at least in my opinion. It just needs, and it's hard to say for this archetype because it has everything that it needs already, but it's still kind of underwhelming, at least in my opinion. when I compare it to other clan, as I played tested 80% of these cards already. Next up is Armor Break, and this will be a tier card that I think a lot of people will be against it, but I think in my opinion, it's here. The Armor Break Dragon, the only thing that it needs is a card that helps. It's the same issue with Genovius. It has a very powerful ability, locked behind a limit break, and a bit hard to fetch because it doesn't really have relation to any other archetype to do a proper search aside from maybe Mighty Bolt Dragon to search for the grade 3. And that's the thing, this card in my opinion just almost shot away from being a good unit because it's such a selfish unit also. Counter Blast 3 is very expensive, and if you're up against a smart player, this can be played around very easily. And I have playtested this, and you most of the time you get killed first before you kill them. But if the opponent give you chance to play, this card is an insane card cause this is one of the few instances in the Vanguard where you have a one-hit kill deck. This thing can one-hit kill you, and that's what makes it so fun about it. Okay, next up is Sweep Commander, and Sweep Commander, this is gonna piss a lot of people off, and this I'll rank this with heavy heart to this tier. The thing about Sweep Commander in my opinion is that its on-play skill is essentially a weaker version of Descendant, as Descendant can just activate it as long as it is on the field. This one need to be placed, but I would say that this is a good follow-up to some of the non-Vowing or non-Descendant archetype because this helps to generate more Excel. And when you are in an archetype where there is so many grade 3s, in case you don't know, there is Scarlet Buster, there's Descendant, there's Vowing Sword, and then there's this card. With so many boss you need you to compete, what this kind of does is on a weaker side of life because aside from generating more Excel, which is not a bad thing, it is a great thing, but in my opinion, it is on a slower side. If you compare it with the Vowing Saber Dragon, which I will put him into this tier, roughly the same tier as Reverse and Tirafa Reverse, in the sense that now Vowing Saber has ability to activate the bind by himself, which means that this allows you to use his second skill, which is exactly the same as a Vowing, more consistently. You don't really need to rely too much on other Regalia to actually trigger his skill anymore. And his third skill, the ability to restand, is insane. It's essentially Genovius with a little bit more condition, as you do need a Vowing Regalia on the field. But overall, I dare say Vowing Saber Dragon is a great unit, and it kind of makes some of the cards in this tier list look really bad. Okay, now let's move on to Nova Grappler, and the first up we have Vardite, and Vardite will be, I'll put him in the same tier as Vowing Saber. I'll put him here. Okay, here's the thing. Asura Kaiser has a good compatibility with Extreme Battler to begin with because Extreme Battler are generic. This card just makes it insane because all you need is to drive check into a normal unit and you can just restand every single Regalia on the field, and Extreme Battler gain more additional effect the more Regalia you get, so it gets a huge amount of benefit. The only thing that kind of pull this card down a peg for me is the fact that it does guarantee one trigger pass, in a sense that you need one normal unit to trigger the skill, so the other card that you need to play can be non-triggers, but it doesn't really care because the benefit that it does get from the effect is huge. Okay, next up, Ethic Buster Extreme, and this in my opinion is one of the worst cards in this tier list. In the tier list, here's the thing about Ethic Buster. If you look into the tier list right now, you see 2 or 3 cards that does exactly the same job as Ethic Buster Extreme, but a lot better. And yes, sure, you can run more grade 3s to make Ethic Buster Extreme more consistent, but the fact still remains, you're running more grade 3s to make the combo more consistent. That means you are sacrificing a lot just for the combo to pull off, and the deck does need a crit. So the Beast Daddy just take a L a lot for Bushiroad card design, and that's why I have with a heavy heart, as I love this card a lot, I rank Extreme as one of the worst card in this in the clan collection, at least this clan collection.
My disappointment is immeasurable. and my day is ruined.
Okay, Cosmology. I don't know much about him. I haven't replayed tested him. But overall, I think he's like Tawas light. And what make Tawas is good is the fact that he generates markers at least two markers every turn. So with that consider, I'm gonna put him in the mid tier. I haven't really, this is one of the entry where I'm not 100% sure about because I haven't fully play tested. But I feel like it does need a few more cards to make it a bit better. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Just to make, if you want, you need a few more cards to make this playable at least, I feel. Okay, Fujin, Nubatama. This is pretty damn good. I'll put him below Reverse. Fujin, in my opinion, has a very different playstyle from Hanzo in the sense that Hanzo is control based, while Fujin has a lot more aggression and pressure, while still can play all of the Hanzo cards. So essentially, it utilizes Hanzo support very differently, and it makes into his style, which is really good. For one, he generates more than one marker every turn, always a good thing. For two, he can increase a lot of pressure to the opponent with his ability to give crit to the front row and his ability to give additional power to the front row. And combine it with some of the support for Nubatama, you can essentially do 4 attacks that can dish out huge amount of power push. And so far in my playtesting, the only weakness of this deck is against control. Even against lock, it's not as bad, but it is extremely weak against control decks, like Reverse for example, as Reverse can just mass retire all the rear guards. So aside from that, very solid deck, and I feel a lot of people kind of underplay this card a lot. Okay, let's move on to Battle Sister, and this gonna go, I'll put it here I guess, like it's a great unit, like the support was great, and I'm talking about every single card, but I feel that it's not meta worthy yet because I feel like Bushiroad is trying to make like a Hanyo 2.0 with Battle Sister, but less broken, and I think they succeed in doing it, albeit it's a little bit more of work to play, and that's why I feel like if people complain about Battle Sister, they are a little bit of bullshit because it's not easy to pull off the Battle Sister combo because you do need to have some luck to put in the play as well. And when I recorded this, I just came back from local tournament. I came in second with Battle Sister, and I can safely say that the deck is pretty great now, not meta, and even with the Hanyo restriction, even with Hanyo like effect, it's still not broken. Okay, then we have Sarah, and this gonna go into, I'll put it in high good unit tier lah. Here's the thing, Sarah and together with her support scales very well as more card is added to the Pale Moon roster, especially in premium. I feel both in premium, I mean this is one of those cards where I feel like I can say it safely that it will have some improvement in premium. But overall, what I like about this card is the fact that you can do some very degenerate combo out of it, and one of them, I did do it on the stream, is a very disgusting multi-attack with Artillery Man boost.
Damn, boy, he's sick!
It makes such a degenerate combo that I think you should try it out first before you say that this card is not good. Yeah, and Pop Chimera is pretty, and the new assistant are pretty great card as well. Okay, next up is Jewel Knights, and I'm gonna put Jewel Knights in like top of this good, I'll put above the Spectral Dupe in the sense that with the new support, which it doesn't really need, it does give some new option to Jewel Knight that is a little bit more flexible, as now you have control with retiring from front row with Ashley Reverse, ability to hit high number thanks to Ashley Reverse and Miranda, and now you have Guardian Restrict, which is a little bit better in my opinion.
Hey, that's pretty good.
But if you do still want to play Sunlong, you definitely can. It just depends on whether you can get all the cards that you needed or not. And I do feel that the deck do need a bit of Cecily and here and there. But overall, very fun, very strong unit, very technical deck that does need a little bit of brain to play. But if you can master it, it is pretty damn fun and pretty good. Like, no one will disrespect you. In fact, they will praise you for playing Jewel Knight in the actual tournament. That's how good players consider Jewel Knights. but at the same time, they don't think it to be broken. Okay, maximum. In my opinion, this is a pretty good unit that need a little bit more support, in the sense that it does give you a very new playstyle for Spike Brothers that we didn't really think of it from that angle, and that is defensive Spike Brother. Yes, Spike Brother is all about rushing, but this card just helps a lot, in the sense that it has ability to increase the shield value of your guard, which means that it's easier for you to guard against a lot of the attacks. And not only that, it does have ability to restand, and the cost is pretty cheap. And together with the Skydiver, in which in my opinion Skydiver will be in the good unit tier, like low good unit, in the sense that this deck just really fun to play, because Skydiver Reverse, this one just restand a lot of unit and swing for a heavy amount of cards. And we need to consider some of the generic support that Spy Brother does have, like Agile Fullback, which does attack from back row. So the deck has a lot to offer now, and they have a lot of rush. But the only problem I'm seeing with it is just that it needs, well, just like last time, it just needs a searcher. Like a lot of the deck in like the Sim School tier just need one more card to kind of gel all the playstyle together, and this is one of them. So yeah, in my opinion, pretty good unit that a lot of people kind of undermine it. Okay, next up we have Etine, and Etine is, as a deck, as a card, is a great card. Like in my opinion, this is one of the strongest card, which I'll rank it above. I'll rank it here. Here's the thing about the wish Etine. Etine, what makes Etine so good is the fact that it denied. Yes, against Exo deck is not as meta as much, and yes, you do need to run wishes in your deck, but the thing is that most of the Shadow Paladin deck do play some form of wishes in their deck already, in the form of Bendy, Demand, and to a smaller extent you can play Iron Rod, which is not a bad card at all. So overall, I think Etine is just like, it just shows a potential of a defensive grade 3 where it can, how far it can go, I guess. And that's something that I want to celebrate, especially in the format where it's all about Vanguard on the Vanguard circle. Okay, next up is Drag Ruler, and Drag Ruler I'm gonna put, you know what, I put him lower last time when I recorded on a different occasion. I'll put him here. I'll put him higher in this list, at the top of good unit, in the sense that he does do a lot of things, and he kind of gel the Revenger with a moderate playstyle together, which is not the worst thing in the world. I don't need to talk too much about it. It's a simple multi-attack deck with Blaster Dark and Revenger unit, and it does have occasional damage dealing effect, which can be helpful if you are trying to rush the opponent to end the game. Okay, we come to the last two cards of the tier list. We have Spino Reverse and Glamorous Dragon. I forget the full name. In my opinion, Taji is, I'll whack him literally in the middle of, I'll whack him in the same spot as Fromage Reverse, in the sense that as a card that extend combo, this card is really good, as it gel both True Ancient Dragon and the normal Ancient Dragon together. And you need to consider Baby Rex and Tyranno Legend as well, as those two cards just gel all the playstyle of Ancient Dragon together and make it into a very scary archetype. The only problem I feel that the deck does suffer, and it is a huge problem, that's why it got dropped by a tier, is the fact that before you ride into Spino Reverse, in which you would rather ride into the normal Spino Driver first, is that you need you need to turn 4 to really get everything running, and that can be a little bit off against certain decks. And if you're up against a deck that can rush you during that period of time, you're pretty much screwed. So yeah, that's why I don't want to rank it any higher, but I still acknowledge how good it can be. And for Glamorous Dragon, I'm gonna put here, I guess, like same thing with the Enigma case. There is not enough card. The card that does synergize with this card very well is a little bit on the, I wouldn't call weaker, but like less interesting side. To put it simply, for me, I think it's just like, you just need one or two more units that like just make the ability to force calling card from your hand a little bit more worth it, more than just like a draw one or power gaining. And this just straight up will be a lot better, and it's already a lot better than some of the deck in like the previous tier, in the sense that it's easy to fetch, and even if you didn't manage to ride into the right target, the plant token as a mechanic is already such a very solid mechanic that you don't really need to think too much to really play it. And both of the cards that support the Gladius Dragon help to fetch in the best way possible. So overall, it's a very good deck, but in my opinion, for a plant token deck, Maiden still beat it by mouse. And yeah, that is pretty much the tier list. I know it's quite a long tier list because we have more than 30 minutes to talk about, and I think it's pretty balanced. Like, it has a lot of good cards, it have a lot of good unit, but at the same time there are some quite a few myths that kind of need something to gel everything together. But what do you guys think of it? Consider comment down below for your opinion on it, and I know some of you can be very active on it. I'm looking forward to see what do you guys have. I'm looking forward to see what you guys think about my tier list. That's pretty much about it. Take care of yourself, and this is McMegane signing out.